New tone, deeper emotional impact, no headings, no resemblance. What you are about to hear may leave you with a very specific kind of silence. Not the calm kind, but the kind that presses against your chest because you suddenly realize how fragile the idea of fairness can be when power is allowed to walk around unchecked. It is the kind of silence that makes you look around and ask, what would I have done if I were in that room? What would I have felt if I had watched this unfold in front of me? Before we dive in, let us know in the comments where you are watching from. We would love to see how far this conversation is reaching. It was a Thursday morning in Providence. The sort of morning where the courthouse hallways echoed with the routine footsteps of people who had been there enough times to know the rhythm of justice. Lawyers walked briskly, clerks carried files that told the stories of hundreds of lives, and citizens waited nervously on hard wooden benches. The usual hum of tension drifted through the halls. Then, at exactly 10:30 a.m., the entire atmosphere shifted. Victoria Ann Romano entered the courthouse with the swagger of someone who had never, not once in her 22 years, been forced to face the consequences of her own choices. She walked as though she were gliding on a private runway instead of marble steps scuffed by decades of ordinary people. A handbag worth more than some cars swung from her arm. A diamond bracelet flashed in the fluorescent light with every impatient flick of her wrist. Her heels clicked sharply, announcing her arrival before she even reached the courtroom door, but it was not the price tags on her accessories that made people stare. It was the look on her face. That unbearable mixture of entitlement and disdain. The kind that makes you feel as if she believes the entire world has been built for her. Comfort alone. Behind her trailed attorney Thomas Whitman, a man whose legal reputation could make judges mutter under their breath. He was used to defending high-profile clients, the kind of people whose names triggered political vibrations the moment they appeared on a docket. Yet today, something was different. His shoulders were tight. His eyes darted nervously, as if anticipating a storm he could not control. He kept whispering instructions to Victoria in a hushed, urgent tone. She ignored every word. If you were sitting in that courtroom, watching the senator's daughter strut forward, you might have wondered what someone like her was doing there. Why someone with that level of arrogance was about to stand in front of a man known nationwide for fairness, compassion, and an unshakable commitment to justice. The answer began 6 nights earlier, under the blur of streetlights at 2 o'clock. Victoria had been driving her father's government-issued sedan with music shaking the windows, and a live stream running for hundreds of late-night followers. Traffic signals felt optional to her. She ran one red light, then another, then a third. Laughter filled the vehicle. Comments flooded her screen. At 55 miles per hour in a 25 zone, she slammed into a parked police cruiser so hard the hood folded like paper when officers Martinez and Johnson approached the wreckage. They had expected fear, or maybe frantic apologies, or even the dazed confusion of someone intoxicated. What they received instead was pure contempt. "Do you even know who my father is?" she had snapped, stepping out of the vehicle as though she had simply scraped a curb. "You cannot touch me. I am Senator Romano's daughter." As they attempted to administer a breathalyzer, she refused with a laugh sharp enough to cut. "I do not take orders from people who work for my family. My father funds your paychecks." Then she delivered the line that would later stun the entire nation. "I have diplomatic immunity. Arrest me and I promise you will be unemployed by morning." Every second of her tirade was captured on the officers' body cameras. And by dawn, the footage was everywhere. Which brings us back to the courtroom, where Judge Frank Caprio sat with a file open in front of him. Every detail of the incident laid out with painful clarity. He had seen many forms of arrogance throughout his decades on the bench, but there was something uniquely alarming about this young woman. It was not only her behavior. It was her absolute certainty that justice could be bent for her, that she was untouchable. The bailiff called her name. The state of Rhode Island versus Victoria and Romano. The gallery shifted with anticipation. Reporters leaned forward. Even her attorney inhaled sharply. Victoria walked to the defendant's table not with humility, not with nervousness, but with the self-satisfied ease of someone taking her seat at a gala. And then, with stunning audacity, she pulled out her phone and began taking selfies. Actual selfies. In a courtroom. During a criminal hearing, Judge Caprio looked up. "Good morning, Ms. Romano." No response. She posed for another photo. "Ms. Romano, I am speaking to you." She finally lifted her gaze as if she were irritated that he dared interrupt her. "Oh, right. Hi, I'm documenting this for my followers. They love it when I expose government inefficiency." She held her phone up, angling it toward him. "You do not mind if I live stream this, do you?" Her attorney closed his eyes in pure despair. "Put the phone away," Judge Caprio said, his voice calm but edged with steel. "This is a court of law." With an exaggerated sigh, she set her phone in her purse. "This really needs to be quick," she added. "I have a spa appointment and they do not reschedule for government workers." Whispers rippled through the courtroom. Judge Caprio read from the file, recounting the officer's statements. Victoria dismissed everything, claiming she was sober, claiming the officers misunderstood, claiming she did not submit to tests from local police because her family had federal status. Then came the moment that revealed the true depth of her delusion. "Ms. Romano?" Judge Caprio asked. "Are you aware that senators and their families do not have diplomatic immunity?" She blinked, confused. "That cannot be right, Your Honor. My father writes the laws. We absolutely have special status." The judge leaned forward. "Explain why you told the officers they could not touch you." She shrugged as though explaining something obvious. "Local police do not have jurisdiction over Senate families. It is separation of powers." The entire room stiffened. Then she added something that made her attorney's hand shake. "My father's office has already reached out to the Department of Justice. Federal prosecutors will handle this. Local courts do not get involved in federal matters." The silence that followed felt heavier than the marble walls. Judge Caprio looked directly at her. "Miss Romano, are you saying your father is interfering in this case?" She smiled, actually smiled, certain she had just secured her own freedom. "Yes, Your Honor, that is how this works. My father prevents local overreach." It was the largest mistake she had ever made. Judge Caprio's voice lowered to a deadly, deliberate calm. "No one," he said, "interferes with the work of this court. Not senators. Not their offices. Not anyone." Victoria's expression faltered, but only for a moment. He continued. "You have just admitted to behavior that raises the possibility of federal obstruction of justice." Her attorney leapt to his feet. "Your Honor, she is young. She is 22, Judge Caprio said sharply. "And she has just confessed to multiple crimes." He began listing the charges: driving under the influence, destruction of government property, resisting arrest, threatening law enforcement, false claims of immunity, attempted intimidation, and now, potentially, obstruction. Victoria's confidence shattered piece by piece. She tried to backtrack. She tried to claim she misspoke. She tried to plead that she was misunderstood. None of it mattered. "Not anymore," Judge Caprio delivered his sentence with steady resolve. "For driving under the influence and destroying public property, 90 days in county jail, $5,000 in fines, and a 2-year license suspension for threatening officers and falsely claiming immunity. 30 additional days and $2,000 in fines. Then came the final blow. For attempting to obstruct justice, I'm holding you in contempt of court. Bailiff, take her into custody." Victoria lurched to her feet. "You cannot do this." "I am Senator Romano's daughter." Judge Caprio looked at her with unwavering calm. "Ms. Romano, watch me." The bailiff stepped forward with handcuffs. She backed away, shaking, insisting that her father would destroy everyone in the room, insisting she was immune, but immunity did not exist here. Not today. As the cuffs closed around her wrists, she cried out for her father, demanding he be called immediately. Judge Caprio's final words struck with surgical precision. "After we investigate your claims, your father may require counsel of his own." The gallery sat in stunned silence as she was escorted out of the courtroom, her screams echoing behind her. Hours later, news cameras recorded the daughter of Senator Anthony Romano being placed into a transport van, wrists shackled, tears streaking through smudged makeup. The footage spread like wildfire. By the end of the day, the senator stood before the press, separating himself completely from his daughter's actions. He denied any interference, condemned her behavior, and announced full cooperation with any investigation. 3 months later, Victoria sat on a steel bunk in county jail, finally stripped of the illusion she had lived inside her entire life. For the first time, she understood what millions of Americans had always known. Justice is not a toy. Power does not erase responsibility.